Hey everyone, it's Baileywiki and it's time for our June 2025 release. This one's all about oceans and lakes, kind of filling a hole in our diorama set with some water-based terrains. You've also got Modular Rivers and then a whole Barber and Wig Maker part of the release. So I'm also introducing a new alternative to the Elevated Vision module, which, as you guys may know, lets you create pretty interesting elevation-based terrain maps, but it also came with all kinds of conflicts. So now we can do it with just normal levels by Ripper. So take a look at my tutorial that I also released today if you're curious about that. But this release also includes a bunch of new 3D scenes and a pretty massively remastered set of dungeon tiles. Dungeondraft users, of course, will enjoy all of the assets that went into this release. So let's jump into the detailed walkthrough. Don't forget to jump to the timestamp so you don't miss any big parts of the announcements, and we'll see you at the other side. Okay, so in terms of where to find everything, you want to make sure you update all of your Baileywiki modules, particularly towns, District 01, nuts and bolts, and mass edit, but you generally just want to update everything. When you go to your nuts and bolts macro compendium, just make sure if you haven't already, import this 2D asset browser and the 2D scene browser, the ones with these little icons. Get them into your world, and then this is how you get to most of the, really all of the 2D content. If you click open the 2D scene browser, you can look up all the scenes, but if you go to 2025, you guys will have a June entry. It will show you all of your June, all of the scenes, including all the inventory scenes that just came out. And if you open up your asset browser, you go to releases 2025 in June, you can see already here, we've got all of the things that deployed. So you have all of your prefabs early on, which is kind of this stuff. If I shrink this down, these are kind of all your prefabs. And then as you get to your tiles later, so you can see your tiles and you can just add them to brushes if you want to do that yourself. So let's go through the Barber and Wig Maker. We've got all the chairs. These are available as a single brush. You can cycle through them. You've got all of your wig displays. You've got all of your mannequins, some with wigs on them. You get all of your beauty equipment, so mirrors, hair pieces, brushes, combs, ribbons. These are all available as a single brush. So you could, if you're setting up, just an area where maybe the princess is getting ready, you just kind of put the stuff around. You've got all of your wigs as well, also available as a brush, just to make it easy to decorate with. And then you've got these full buildings. These buildings' roofs are colorable, just as a reminder that might be blue, but it's really red, technically. So you can make it any color that you want. If I open up levels, I can look at the interior. So here's the barber shop, everything you'd expect to find there. And then here is this warehouse. Now, I just did a tutorial today on a new way to do elevation. So you can see it's got all these regions that will automatically pop your users up and down based on them having a battle within this warehouse. It's really cool. It only requires levels. You don't need anything else. And I really, really like it. So check out my tutorial from that came out today if you want to see how to do this yourself. But this warehouse comes as a prefab, and it comes as a prefab not only as the warehouse itself with regions, but also as an empty version of it. Just to show you the empty version, looks like this. It's just got a handful of boxes, but otherwise you can decorate this with your own boxes, right? So if I look up like storage clutter, I can add these, like this one's a really good one, this storage prefab. I can add boxes to this room and I can make it like a maze or really kind of any layout that I want, right? And then again, watch that tutorial if you want to be able to do the same thing where your players pop up and down in levels. Next up is all of our beach inventory. So these are lake shores. The main innovation here, this was a suggestion from somebody on Discord. Forgive me, I don't remember the name, but if you were the one, feel free to tell me in the comments so I can thank you properly. But these let you merge lakes together and create larger lakes and lakes of different dimensions. There's even a piece here I put on a white background that lets you, expand lakes out and just have the water, have them all connect to like the same piece of water. The reason they're all merging together here, that's what they look like without it, is they're actually sitting on top of a terrain spawner. So this terrain spawner is using token magic effects and a tileable lake texture. In this case, you see it right here, where you can just drag this onto a scene and it will fill the scene with this tileable lake texture and let you add lakes on top of it if you're looking to do that. These are more prefabs built with those same pieces you saw above, but just showing you how they all link together. These are just larger and ready for you just to throw down into a scene, add more diorama tiles around it, and you're good to go. You've even got one with a little waterfall here. We did the same thing for ocean beaches. This is the rocky beaches, so they tend to be a little bit rockier, but they are the same kind of thing that you just saw, where they've got water built into them, but they merge into this terrain spawner ocean background. And you can just butt them up to each other and create more complicated shorelines, that sort of thing. And then you've got the sandy beach version. So these just sandier beaches, otherwise same general principle. You've got some islands that can also be put together to make different shaped shorelines. And you've got all of these prefabricated islands that use multiple pieces from the set. Did these in Dungeondraft. And so these scale really large. So you can have just one of these be an island and have like a whole town on it if you want to scale it up that large. They also just merge together nicely and you can make different shaped islands. And last but not least, we have these modular rivers. I just put this background in so you could see them easily. But the modular rivers just link together. So, if I say Shift D and I put this into prefab mode, I can butt that up against another one and I can just start assembling rivers any way that I want. These are transition pieces. You can see that they match the ocean water. This is if you want to build a river that comes off of an ocean shoreline and goes inland. You can use this as your starting point and then have another river butting up against it, and you can have that go the rest of the way. That's it for inventory in terms of the new template scenes. This is just a really simple diorama scene. As usual, you can just right click this and it will cycle through all the different kinds of lakes that you have available. Same thing if you just double click this button as well. If you want to make it change to something else, then you can double right click it and you get the file picker that you guys have hopefully seen me introduce in the last couple of episodes. You can select the files you want it to pick from. You can see what is in there, but if we just randomize this, now it'll randomize between just these tiles in case you want to experiment with other options for your lakes. And of course, you can just copy this and paste it, and now you've got two, and you can randomize those two together until you find a combination you like. Like I like this. It looks like this little natural bridge going over a lake. I mean, just randomly generated that for me, right? So you just keep clicking around until you maybe get one that you like, and maybe I want to adjust this one. Just realizing I didn't have my lake selected. So again, you just randomize it until you have something that you like. Maybe I want to merge this together with that lake, right? That's how you do it. We also have this diorama template. It's actually 5 regions with this really large empty lake region behind it. And again, we can randomize it. I randomized it, came up with this configuration, which I like. You can keep randomizing it, doing the same that you saw before, where you can like change little pieces of it individually. This one follows a similar concept, but now we've got an archipelago. So this one is going to have these 3 different diorama tiles, which you can cycle through, create different kinds of islands. You can move these, copy these, shrink them, grow them, delete them. They all sit on top of this ocean terrain. So just like usual, I can click this and I can randomize them. Notice it randomizes even the ocean tile. So it might delete one of them. But this is just great. I just love being able to create an archipelago really fast. Throw a ship on here and we've got a nice little battle. This one's something similar. This one randomizes. This one actually is one of the larger tiles. So if I right click it, see it'll take a second to load. But if I'm using multi-face tiles, I can use some of these really large islands. This just gives you a way to just use an already existing like large island and just start creating a battle off of it. Then we get into our unlimited terrain templates. So this is a lake unlimited terrain. So if I right click it and I want to adjust the position and I hit the random button, I can just randomly find a new shoreline, right? It's just a new map all of a sudden. And you can keep doing this. This system that I'm showing you with this like macro, we have some big upgrades coming in the next release. In fact, we're turning this into kind of like a mini module itself. So you'll be able to do a ton of this work that I'm doing right now, but with a little bit more control. But you can also change these overlays to something else. So if you change the overlay and then you go into, and it takes a while to load up because these things are so big, you go into ocean and islands, you can see some other alternatives. We have other oceans and islands we've deployed before. If you want the diorama tile versions that merge with all these, you can see those options here. But again, it just picks a random spot on those and lets you start building a map off of it. Same thing here. This one is with one of the ocean terrain spawners, and the same one with this. Jumping into some of the pre-made scenes, we're starting with an Archipelago template, throwing a ancient tower on top and putting some cultish activities there at the top as well. In case you didn't know, you can cycle the tops of these. Kind of interesting. You got some working rowboats, and this is a multi-level scene, so your players can climb this tower and fight at the top. We also have this cave on an island. If your players make it to the cave, they can kind of like make their way inside of it. Right, so they can kind of go underneath, but you've got a hut here that's got an interior in case they want to explore the hut. And then palm trees and other things. Just show you how you can quickly make a map like this. A lake scene, just using a couple of the diorama tiles. You can see they're just mashed up together. Make a nice serviceable lake with the dock, working rowboat, and a little cabin down here in the corner. And then this waterfall scene, I'll break down some elements here. You've got your, dock with a little fence. You've got just an old stair to climb, a bridge. These are just those modular rivers. You can see they just mash up, and I just linked up these two lakes with it, and then we just threw a animated tile in here to animate the spray off the waterfall. Really serviceable, super easy to set up. In case your players are trying to get gussied up, we've got the barber and clothing store. This is just using the barber that just came out, the clothing store that came out with the last release. Your players can go in and explore these things and get gussied up for their adventures. These are all day and night lit, of course. All of the other buildings are just facades. Your players can't enter them. This just, again, gives you an idea of how you can lay out a really quick city scene. The city warehouse district actually has a number of warehouses your players can enter. We turn on levels. We can see warehouse 1, 2, and 3. Everything else is a facade. And your players can come in here. Notice this one was set up using the blank one with custom elements. So this one does not have, or it does, I'm sorry, I did end up making the regions for it. This just shows you how you can customize the interior of really any warehouse using all the pieces. And then finally, the warehouse battle just uses the standard warehouse that came with the release. This one has, it's sitting on top of a docks unlimited terrain with some decoration around it. And you can also see the roof has a damaged roof filter apply. You can certainly change that. You go to the overlay and you just disable it. It takes away the roof damage. But I just wanted to show you that it's an option and you have the ability to do that. So that's it for the 2D release. Now I'm going to hand it over to Swift to talk about the 3D stuff.
Hi guys, Swift here again, talking about the 3D side of the update this month. We've got a set of maps by myself, DigiDM, and Lettuce, and then a set of assets, which is a bit of a remaster of some previous ones, but I'll show you those when we get there. To start off with, this is the warehouse scene, which was used in a recent video that was recorded. Probably hasn't come out by the time this video comes out, but that was a lot of fun. This is just a simple kind of indoor battle map using some of our interior tiles and then just some crates to kind of create a relatively simple battle map where we've got a little bit of verticality, but in a fairly simple way. Like you can climb up these boxes. They're just one tile tall. So, 5 feet of movement, 5 feet again. And a little bit of verticality. Like we've got a platform at the back here with a bit of a fence, as well as this walkway along here. So, whoever it is that's in here can open fire on whoever's inside, but then whoever's inside can take cover behind these boxes or climb up on top. I think something that we probably need more of, really, is interior maps that aren't dungeons. So this sort of thing hopefully fills that kind of niche. Anyway, let's move on to our next map. And this one is by DigiDM and is Drake's Last Thirst, which is a pretty stylish one, I gotta say. We've got this ancient dragon skeleton buried in the sands around this oasis that may well have sprung up because of its crashing here. One of those circle of life type things. Making good use of surrounding terrain to kind of make the place look more believable, I think. And of course, the good thing about desert maps is that they're generally quite easy to get looking good. So in this case, we've used a bit of splat map action to get some grass on the desert map. The splat map shader being one of the effects that you can put on tiles in 3D Canvas, so you can paint on different textures onto tiles and the like. Usually intended for terrain, but you could use it for something else. Anyway, that's a rather stylish one. Let's have a look at the next. This one is Titan's End, also by DigiDM, using the large skull that they were using last month as well. This one's got some pretty cool, very stark shadows just by using a environment with very low diffuse lighting and then a quite low down light source over there. And of course, we've got this gigantic skull half buried in the ground with a gigantic sword buried in it. I think that's one of the tropes that you seem to get a lot in games like D&D and games like it, is the implication that in the past there were great deeds occurring, like, for example, whatever battle resulted in this. Presumably, whoever wielded that sword was a giant in the same way that this guy was. But in this case, it's the centerpiece for this forest map here, quite dark and gloomy. Let's have a look at the next one. And this one is also by DigiDM, and it's Fangrot Hollow, which is a bit of a remix of the first one, really. We've got the deceased drake here, but it has crashed into some sort of swampy area, or otherwise kind of wet bit of terrain. We've got it curled around this pond here. We've got dips in the terrain around about it. And then a sort of mossy green, possibly sludgy green kind of texture emanating from it on the ground here. So it may be that the dragon crash landing here has not been good for the local environment in this case. It's another case of a really cool centerpiece for a encounter out in the forest, though. Pretty stylish, I'd say. We've got things like the vines shader on this here, so we've got vines crawling all over the body. Very clever use of some of the tools in 3D Canvas. And let's have a look at the next one. And here we are in Lettuce's maps this month. This is a continuation of their Ruined Rooms series, so this is Ruined Rooms 3. We've got the diorama situation again, and these dungeon pieces here up on the table. In this case, we've got a sarcophagus surrounded by a stone circle of various pillars there. More sarcophagi in the background, and tucked away in the corner here. And of course, 5 braziers, which it's one of those things that tends to happen a lot in adventures. Light the 5 braziers, bring the 5 treasures, burn the 5 offerings, all that sort of thing. Overall, a quite straightforward piece, and of course the fact that it's just sort of opening off into the table means you can order these rooms in any order you like, obviously. We've got them numbered, this is number 3, but, obviously you don't need to use them in that order. Speaking of, let's have a look at the next one. And here we are in Ruined Rooms 4. This is another pretty cool one. We've got a large room here as the centerpiece, and inside this room are some statues surrounding a mystical floating crystal, I suppose, yeah. This, I think, is something that I see people in the community doing a lot, which is pretty great, which is just combining effects that are on lights, like these kind of purple flames. This is just a torch effect that you put on a light, and then just putting it on things that are not lights, or not torches in this case. You can get some really great effects just by using things in ways that aren't necessarily obvious. Anyway, so we've got these statues in some scaffolding. This one's even got a ladder propped up against it. So this place was still under construction, or maybe they just finished construction when whatever calamity happened. Exiting out from the room, we've got one corridor down low and another one up high that goes into 2 more directions, with moss crawling down the walls. Very good effect, I think. So I could easily see this being like either a puzzle or perhaps some sort of, I don't know if you would call it an encounter, but perhaps some sort of task to get past this crystal without wiping the party. as it may be a very dangerous magical artifact. That's what the purple light would imply, at least. Anyway, let's have a look at the next one. And this is Ruined Rooms 5, which has more corridors joining off to the sides. Some of them have been caved in. And then a very large room here that's had a lot of construction going on, and either a cave-in or it's still been under excavation. This sort of map, I think, is very flexible, because when you've got a situation like this where you have a dungeon, but it's not in pristine condition, you've got scaffolding, rocks, barrels, supplies strewn about, it could either be that it's damaged or that it's under construction. And if it's damaged, it might just be that it's very old. So basically what I'm saying is you can populate this with a wide variety of people. Either the dungeon's original constructors are here, or it's an ancient structure that has been overtaken by the undead, bandits, goblins, kobolds, any sort of roving band that are willing to sort of delve into dungeons to make a home. Overall, though, it's a very flexible series of scenes we've got here, this Ruined Room series. Now let's have a look at the next one. This one is also by Letters. It's a bit of an exterior one, still in the sort of diorama style. This is just the wagon on the road scene. We've got a horse and a wagon on the road, as you might expect. In this case, there's been a tree fallen across it, a very classic sort of a tactic used by bandits and the like. Throw a tree across the road and then your quarry must stop to deal with it, which is a perfect time for you to ambush them. Of course, you could simply remove the log just by, selecting it and hitting delete and just using it as a road scene. Roads are the kind of things that are going to show up in every single campaign to ever exist. Between the town and the dungeon, there's usually at least a little bit of road. When travelling over land, you're not always on roads, but sometimes you are. But obviously, I think most of you already know this sort of thing. So in this case, we've just got a bit of a classic scene of a wagon being intercepted on the road, done in a sort of diorama style with this wooden border, as if the whole thing's just a kind of board that has been placed on the table here. Let's have a little look at the next one. This one's also by Letters, and it is the House on the Hill encounter, which is another sort of exterior road scene here. We have a road that goes down the map, then forks, and then a house built on the side of it here, up on some scaffolding, with a bit of a campsite next to it. Of course, as with many things, it's often not the road that is important, it's what's beside the road. In this case, this could be a shop of some kind that the party have come to stop at, or it could just be the house of someone of note that the party are passing by. Or, of course, it could be their destination, whatever their task happens to be. Again, it's done in a bit of a diorama style. This is something new we're trying, just with like a simple little board around the outside here. So, I'd like to get your opinion on this. Do you think it looks cool? Or do you think you'd prefer just a sort of flat black edge on the map, or maybe something else? Let me know in the comments. And let's have a look at the next map. And this is our last map by Letters here. This is another road encounter, the Creek, with the ferryman. In this case, it's a river running through a settlement of some sort with a ferry in between them. It's got this rope here between these two posts, and since with the DM, you can see that's clickable. What we've got here is a case of a sliding door, but set to be quite slow. So the idea would be you'd have the ferryman on there who's pulling on the rope to pull this raft across the stream, and then maybe 1 to possibly 3 people are on there with him, slowly crossing the river, which can be a source of tension if there's some sort of conflict going on, if there's ranged attacks going across the river or anything like that, or if you've just got some sort of classic puzzle to do with getting things across the river safely. The buildings around about give a lot of flexibility, of course, because anybody could go into or come out of any of these. Urban environments, such that this could be called urban, are always pretty useful for that sort of thing. So that's the maps for this month. Let's have a quick look at the assets we've got, or the props rather. And so this month, for the props, we've got a whole load of dungeon pieces. And these will probably look familiar to people who have been using the module for quite a while. These are similar to our old weathered set, or well, they're very similar to our old weathered set, with a bit of a twist. In this case, there's more pieces. This scene here is 1/3 of them. There's also a cracked variant and a pristine variant of every piece you can see here. This is the mossy variant. But also, it's a lot more efficient. The previous sort of weathered set was up to around about 100 megabytes, maybe 110 or so. Whereas this entire set, so all this times 3, is 10 megabytes, which is rather more efficient. I'm sure you'll agree. So consider this something of a remaster of a previous set. The main advantage being just it's a lot smaller, so there's a lot more concerns about, network size and network speed and all that sort of thing. And there's a few more variants of everything we have here, like various different types of corridors, corners, end pieces, slanted pieces, platform stairs going up, down, and all sorts. More variants of more stairs, more variants of more walls, basically more of everything. And then also a whole bunch of walkway platforms. So these are, for platforms you've got up in the air, and then yet more stairs, yet more floors, etc. And these are all tile based, so they should just snap together. Like if you grab, say, one of these, you can just snap them together nice and easy, because of course these are just designed to be really sort of quick and easy to use. Boom. Be even better if I lined it up correctly. There we go. So, we've got an instant pit with stairs. So overall, yeah, there's not much to say about each individual piece because, a lot of them are very self-explanatory, like curved walls, both concave and convex. Like in this case, the stones along the bottom of the wall, this kind of defines the front of the wall, the side facing into the dungeon. So we've got concave, convex, slanted, angled, straight, end wall pieces, corridor pieces, all that sort of thing. The stairs, the ramps, the walkways, the floors, basically just everything. So the main thing about this is the efficiency, really. So something I'm interested to know, I don't know if these pieces will be directly compatible with the older versions of these pieces, but if anybody using or creating maps uses these pieces, I'd like to hear if you have any sort of, even if it's just anecdotal thoughts, on whether you feel these are easier to use, but also like faster to load, and like if scenes made with these run faster than scenes with the older ones, because it is of course going to save you a chunk of megabytes wherever it is. That's definite. But we also want to know how much of a like frames per second kind of improvement do you get out of these. So drop in the comments down below, message us on Discord, that sort of thing. And that goes for everything with the release, of course. Any questions or comments about any other maps or any of the scenes or anything like that, do let us know. For now, though, that's the end of the 3D section. I'll hand you back off.
Okay, Dungeondraft folks. As you can see from this big list, you've got a lot of stuff in the test file for this month. It's the Beaches Barber Wig Maker month. You've got all of the lake beaches that we showed before, and these all merge together nicely to make larger lakes. You've got all of the rocky beaches. You can see some of the transition components here. All the sandy beaches, which work well with the rocky as well, and all these kind of island pieces. You've got all of the modular rivers themselves. Here's those transition pieces again. And then you can see how we used all of the diorama tiles from this and past releases to make these more complicated islands. I will say that if you create these yourself and you export them, I would do it as a PNG, and you still may have to do some post-processing even as a PNG, but these edges, just how Foundry handles like some of this like more difficult transparent pixels, you might find that you have to, they might come out dark, and so you might have to adjust these in post-processing. But you can see how everything was made, make some alterations, build your own. Then we get into these unlimited terrain images here, where we use a very specific technique to make them mirror on all the edges. Same thing here. Here's the large lake unlimited terrain. In Foundry, these end up being things you can zoom in on. Here's just some composites of lakes, just to show you how these things assemble together. Right? I love that one. And then you get into the barber shop, right? And the warehouse. You can come in here and make changes. If there is a roof that comes with the warehouse, because we made a custom shape here. And then here's the empty warehouse, just has some of the pieces removed. You can come in and make changes yourself. That's just a clone of the barbershop. And that's it. That's what you guys have access to this month. It's like 230 some odd new assets. So let me know in the comments how you get along. And in the meantime, that's it for the release. Let's go ahead and close it up from here and tell you what to expect next. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this release. There was a lot of effort that went into it, a lot of innovation and stuff going on underneath the hood too, as we're getting ready for V13. Probably by next month, we'll support V12 and V13 simultaneously, with the big caveat that Monk's Active Tiles is still not ready yet. That's going to be the holdout for V13. There's so many little details that have to get changed by Iron Monk to be able to get V13 ready for active tiles. So that's kind of what we're all waiting on, and we'll keep you posted on when that's ready to go. But everything else, levels, everything from Ripper, Mass Edit, all that stuff is V13 ready. You can even use Baileywiki content on V13. Just the Monk's Active Tile stuff may be broken until that gets fixed. But other than that, hope you guys enjoyed the release. Let us know in the comments if there's something you'd like us to work on next. As you saw, there was one suggestion we got. We made a whole release out of it with the lakes. So love to get ideas from you guys. So drop them in the comments and start a conversation. In the meantime, thanks everybody for supporting the channel. Hope you love this. Hope you have fun making your maps.